Hi everyone, Kelly here, and today I want to talk about some books that I've bought in the last couple months. I just have done some book shopping, and I'm going to stop saying that I won't buy more books this year because obviously it just keeps happening. But I've read some of these already, and I have some plans to read some of them this fall. So I am getting through some of the books I am buying. So I kind of split these into some categories. First, I had an author that I had bought 4 books of. So let's start with T. Kingfisher. I have been reading what are these called? Saints of Steel. I read the first 2 books in the Saints of Steel, and so then I bought books 3 and 4. So I have Paladin's Hope and Paladin's Faith to complete that series. So like I said, I just finished actually book 2. So I want to continue on in that. And that's kind of I guess you might call it a romantasy. It's definitely fantasy that's focused on the romance, and each book is a different romance, but probably not what most people think when they think of romantasy, because it's also just funny and sarcastic and all that. And then I have What Feasts at Night, and this is the second in her Sworn Soldier series, and I've actually already read this one. I just like the UK covers, so I waited for it to come out in paperback. I'm very excited because book 3 is coming out soon, so I have to wait to get that paperback till next year, but I've already seen the cover. I'll put a picture of it here because this is what the hardcover looks like, and so the way the UK ones have been going, that they've used the same picture for the paperback, so I'm excited to get the paperback of book 3 when it comes out because it looks really pretty. But that was book 2, and I've already read that one. And then her most recent release is Hemlock and Silver, and this is a Sleeping Beauty retelling, I believe. I believe it'll be a dark Sleeping Beauty retelling, and I'm very excited to read this one, hopefully this fall, and the cover's beautiful. All right, and then I joined Book of the Month this year, and so I have 5 Book of the Month books, which I've already read 3 of, so I feel like I'm doing pretty good. My goal was, if I'm gonna start using Book of the Month, that I would actually want to keep up with my Book of the Month books, and part of it was I just wasn't buying a lot of new releases because they're just so expensive, and so I was like, this is a way that I can own some new releases without spending $30 a book on them. And like I said, read 3 out of the 5, so I'm doing pretty good. I bought Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. This is climate fiction. This was one I read, really good. If you haven't picked up her yet, I would highly suggest this one. I own like 3 of her books now, and this was the first one I read, and now I'm very excited to get to the other 2. And then I bought The Ghostwriter by Julie Clark. This is, I guess it's kind of probably categorized as a thriller, but more like a family drama with some like mystery thriller elements in it. And this one I also read and really enjoyed. And then I have How Freaking Romantic by Emily Harding. And I will definitely be looking out for Emily Harding's books in the future because I loved this. This is a contemporary romance, and I just liked the banter and all this stuff. It's definitely like a hate to love kind of story, and it was a lot of fun. And then the 2 I haven't read yet are both fantasy, and hopefully I'll get to them soon because I am interested in them. This is Silver Elite by Danny Francis, and this was one that is like, I think it's kind of romantasy but also like dystopian, so more like a dystopian romance. But it sounded like it'd be fun. It did not sound like it would be necessarily the most high quality story ever, but I'm hoping to at least have fun with that. And then I also got Heartless Hunter by Kristen Chigarelli, and this one I've heard really great things about this duology. It's like a hate to love type of thing, but with like, well, actually like an enemies to lovers, because I think that she's a witch and he's a witch hunter, and so I am interested in that one. So those are all my Book of the Month. And then while we're talking about new releases, I have bought 2 more new releases, and I have The Hounding by Zenobi Purvis, and this is just, I think this is just brand new. Like, I think this just came out like last month or something like that. I just bought this like 2 days ago, and I got this one because I want to read it this fall because it's definitely a kind of witch hunt type of book. Basically the villagers think these girls are turning into dogs, and so it's not like a direct witch book, but it's more like mob mentality of like that rumor is spreading and people believing it, and the consequences of all these people believing this thing about these girls. So I am interested to read that one soon. And then I got The Incandescent by Emily Tesh. And I've read a couple books by Emily Tesh and really enjoyed them. And this would be like the first full, because I think the other two I read were like novellas. So this would be my like first full-length novel by Emily Tesh. But I've heard really good things about this. This is kind of like academia, but fantasy with a middle-aged protagonist, which I haven't been like, you know, like really that interested in dark academia or like fantasy academia kind of settings, because I'm always like, well, they're usually following very young protagonists that just I can't relate to anymore. But this is following like a professor, so seems like something more up my alley. So those were two new releases I got, and then some middle grade that I picked up. I have been, every time I go to a used bookstore, I just check for this book. This is Jefferson's Sons by Kimberly Brubaker Bradley, because this is out of print now. This is historical fiction. This is about Thomas Jefferson's children that he had with Sally Hemings, who was one of his slaves. And I know this like history, but I've wanted to read this fiction version of it. But like I said, it's out of print, and I just happened to go into a used bookstore and see it there. And so I was like, okay, time finally for me to pick it up and read it. And then the rest of these I bought new. So I got Tiger by S.F. Said. And this one was purely like I was in Barnes and Noble. I was getting something else. And a person that worked there was like, oh, did you know that this is the book of the month for middle grade readers? And she was talking all about it. And I'm like, that sounds interesting. Never heard of this book. I still actually don't know what it's about. But she convinced me to get it anyway. So yeah, I'm interested to try it out. It just says on the back, because it's really like hardly any description. It just says, Adam has found something incredible in a rubbish dump in London, a mysterious, mythical, magical animal, a tiger. So that's all I know about it. And then what I do know more about is The Beatrice Prophecy by Kate DiCamillo. I just love her book, so I've been wanting to like read this one, and when I saw it in the store, I just went ahead and picked this up. Yeah, so this one has been kind of like on my radar for a while. And then one that I also have just been meaning to get for a while is Otter by Catherine Applegate. I really enjoy Catherine Applegate, and otters are like one of my favorite animals, and so this one has like little pictures throughout. I mean, come on, so cute. And this is written in verse, so it'll go by really quick, but I think I'm gonna try to read this together with my kids. And if nothing else, it just is super cute. And then another category of a couple books I have are things I got for free. So this is something I picked up in a little free library. I got The Glass Menagerie by Tennessee Williams. This is a play. And I read this a long, long time ago, probably around college. And I just don't remember much about it. So I wanted to read it again. And then, you know, like in the summer, the library does their like summer reading. And if you complete it, then you get a free book. And the free book I got was The Women by Kristen Hanna. And it seems like everybody has read this book. It was like, you know, the choice for historical fiction, like best historical fiction last year, and I just never got around to reading it, and so now I have a copy of it for free. And then my last category is just everything else that I got. So these don't fit into any special category. I got Frankenstein by Mary Shelley just because I've always meant to read this classic, and figured I would pick it up so I would get around to it at some point. I got the annotated Emma. I've been picking up these annotated versions after I finished the books, and I had read Emma a few years ago and I forgot to buy the annotated version, and I was planning on reading this version for Jane Austen July this year when they did the group read, and then I didn't get around to it. So now I have it for the next time I want to read Emma. I want to read the annotated version. I got A Sky Beyond the Storm by Sabaa Tahir because I am reading along with Krista from Books and Jams. She's doing a read along with Sarah's Nightstand, and we're reading this in September. So I picked up my copy for that read along. I bought Good Inside by Dr. Becky Kennedy, and this is a parenting book, and I've already started this. I'm like a fourth of the way through this, so this is one I've already been working through. And then I got Women of Myth, and this is this by, oh yeah, by Jenny Williamson and Jen McMenemy, illustrated by Sarah Richard. And this is just a compilation of different, you know, women in myth, so like goddesses or things like that, with a lot of full page pictures of different ones. And I have been reading through this like slowly, because it is more just like where you have like a person from mythology, and it's what, 1, 2, 3, like 4 pages about them. So it's not something I'm just gonna read straight through, just kind of picking up here and there and reading and looking at the illustrations, which I found out when I was at Barnes & Noble's lately that the same illustrator, I don't think the same author, but the same illustrator illustrated a book about Norse mythology, and it was beautiful. So I might get that at some point. My daughter's eyes got very wide because she loves Norse mythology, so maybe we'll have to share that book. And then the last one is Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt. And this has been one that I've had on my radar for ever since it came out, because everybody was reading it and enjoying it. And I was like, that sounds like something I would enjoy, but I just never got around to picking it up. And then I saw that they had this one with the cute little fish and stuff, sprayed edges. And so I was like, well, I'll just go ahead and pick it up now and have it. So this is like literary fiction with an octopus as one of the characters. So someday I'll get around to that. So that's it. Those are all the books that I have bought recently. If you've read any of these and want to talk about them down below, I'd love to hear from you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.